people are probably already asking, what is the Forever Agent? And we will get into it. And this is going to be a bit of an anthology. Each one of these points could be a 2-hour podcast in and of itself. We decided to come up with a podcast exclusively for the Forever Agent concept. I want to dive into this. From past clients to forever clients, and tie it in from databases to client bases. This is big. Pay attention to this one. Alan, take it away.
Well, Gino Blafari was the first to talk about the Forever brand because he saw one of his bosses, Mr. Warren Buffett, mention the concept of being a Forever brand. And so Gino brought that to the global network. Then Christy, our CEO, is doing a fantastic job in leadership. She came in and said, we're going to stress more or just as much on how our agents are forever agents. And so if we're going to have people be forever agents, it's very tough for them to sustain that relationship if they're not involved with consumers on forever planning. Because otherwise, we're going to fall into the trap that the industry has for the last 60 years by using this dreaded term, past clients. Andrew, think about it. How many times have you heard colleagues, even some of the most sophisticated colleagues on our great Rethink Council, how many times have you heard people use the words, my past clients?
Every day. It's kind of like listing presentations. You can't avoid it in this industry.
You can't avoid it.
Right.
And the reason for that is because people think that a client only exists parenthetically when they're involved in the transaction.
Right. Before
the transaction, they're a prospect. They're in somebody's geographical farm. They're in their database. And then after they've sold or bought a home, they now become a past client. I think here in 2022, it's long overdue that we finally emancipate consumers from being unwitting residents in our geographical farms, our friends on Facebook, and our residences of our database, and our past clients and your past clients to becoming forever clients. And so the whole idea of the forever agent is to have forever clients. I don't believe you can have a forever client with a database perspective. I think databases are for the service sector. They're for the DMV, okay? They're for the IRS. Doctors and lawyers and financial planners, that cadre of professionals that we romantically like to align ourselves with, they live in the world of client bases. And this isn't just semantics. They treat people differently. People don't sign a 30-year agreement with a doctor, but they're in a client base. They feel they're a client. They've got a family doctor. So that's why we've created Bob Watson and myself, Wendy Duran and myself and Bob, under Christie's leadership, with people like you, George Patsios, Mark Wadden up in Toronto, Ray Mesa, Kevin again, some of the leaders of the brand. We've put together the Forever Agent marketing system, pledge, implementation guide, Forever Agent workbook, Forever Agent coaching. And part of that are the 10 things that you can do to upgrade your database to your client base. You see, Andrew, I could walk around Maryland in 2 months from now with the largest database anyone's ever had in real estate. I could buy the voter registration rolls for the Republican and Democratic Party. And I could walk through the downtown Baltimore as proud as a peacock. But in a month or two, I'm going to be a feather duster because it has no value. That's why doctors can sell their practices, but a lot of top agents have been in this business for 20 and 30 years, and then they retire. There's very little value in what they can sell to somebody because they haven't memorialized these transactions into a sustainable book of business where people are treated like a client. And that begins with all the language, and we'll get to that later.
So this is a really important concept, converting your database to a client base. Everyone, I've heard you speak many times. Anytime this comes up, everybody wants this. If your hand doesn't go up on this, maybe you're not paying attention because it's irrefutable. It's just logical, rational. It makes total sense. Of course, I want a client base, just like these other professions, that cadre of professions you mentioned. And I got to give a shout out to some other people in the network because guys like Mark Stark, who I've heard this guy talk 1 or 2 times and he just blew me away, kind of like you do. He talks about this because he's one of the people who's kind of pioneered helping agents acquire other
Exactly.
agents' books of businesses.
Exactly.
And when he goes on and explains his process, he has his way of converting a database to a client base and getting ready for an exit. Because if you're going to prepare your client base for an exit, it makes you better today. You're not doing it because you want to monetize in the future. It's going to make you better now because you're converting a database to a client base. Can you help me get him on the podcast to go over that?
Absolutely. And Andrew, when you mentioned Mark Stark, he's an icon in the industry. One of the handful, if there's a Mount Rushmore of successful brokers, Mark is up there. We're blessed within the brand to have the talented executives.
Oh my gosh.
Jimmy Burgess, Vince Lacey. You go right down the line. We have Diane Glass in Chicago, Martha Mosier. We've got Candace Adams. We have legendary operators, leaders, and CEOs throughout the brand. And these geniuses of real estate, I believe, have to even be tapped into much more for their guidance and direction. And by the way, it all begins with our chairman, Gino Blafari, real estate's GOAT, number one in his marketplace of 2 million people for many years, built the number one C21 company in the world. I think 8 or 9 of the top 11 offices worldwide he ran. Then he starts one of the top 7 largest brokerages in the world. Then he goes on to transform Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, that is. And then now he's the CEO of HomeService America. And he's so humble in his attention to accountability, partially through the 4 disciplines of execution, but so much beyond that, have transformed more brokerages and more realtor careers than anybody I've seen within organized real estate.
What I didn't understand until I was here is how does this brokerage work? Because all these other brands have like their disciple that everyone needs to follow and they get all this credit. Now, Gino is always one of the top 5 most influential people on the planet when it comes to real estate. Always. And he'll probably be number 1 next year.
Always.
I mean,
well, he is in my book, but.
Well, he should be number 1. Yeah. But at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, there's these conglomerates of these brokerages, and they are run by the most sophisticated, the most strategic operators this business has ever seen. Each one of these could be a national brand, but they've chosen to affiliate with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. And you just named a bunch of them. But I got to give a special shout out to Jimmy Burgess and Vince Lacey because they've been helping me on the Rethink Council. You were there in Florida with us at Christie's house. These guys don't have to be doing this. They're leading some of the most successful companies, total domination in their market, and they're pouring back in. So if you're watching this and your brand doesn't offer things like this, look, Berkshire Hathaway probably could do a better job of putting out all this amazing stuff that they do all the time. We save it for the internal network. We have 55,000 agents. We got to make sure they hear it first. But if people only knew the level of sophistication behind the people operating at the highest level in this business, I think they'd be blown away.
Well, you know, Andrew, and let's also give a shout out to George Pazio.
Okay.
George Pazio was a very successful entrepreneur, owned multiple McDonald's franchises, came into the real estate business, and has transformed the Massachusetts market with Commonwealth, Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Commonwealth, up there in the Commonwealth. Again, Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Commonwealth, and Robert Paul, Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices down Cape Cod. No broker has been anywhere near as instrumental in helping us further define and package the Forever Agent marketing platform than George. Now, Candace Adams was the most instrumental because she kicked off this entire movement at her company. But then George and his team, after that, worked arduously over several weeks, making sure that the Forever Agent concept was popularized, and then it was first particularized and then popularized, because we did a lot of research, Andrew, and a lot of network members said, oh, I like that term, but I really don't know what it means. I like the term, but I don't know what's behind it.
Right.
And these teams, along with Bob Watson and Wendy, we've spent so much time now with this whole process. And thank you, George.
Yeah, that was one of our big topics, how to particularize something before you popularize. It's a very important thing. And look, all these leaders, they've co-signed on this type of content. They've reviewed the information, all the tactics and strategies. And that makes, I don't want to hear anyone say, oh, Forever Agent, that's cute. Maybe it's stupid. It's so deep. So just give it the time of day, because the smartest people in the industry believe in it, co-signed it, and we're rocking and rolling. So, all right, another one of my favorites, Alan. Let's go back to the list. How do we go from lazy listing language to distinctive dialogues?
Well, Andrew, what's interesting is that not only is the industry noted for trying to convert all personalities into 4 types without testing them, doing disc guessing versus disc testing, seemingly we've also converted every home in North America into 5 descriptions or 6. Every home, according to the way we seem to talk as an industry, is either lovely, beautiful, charming, gracious, spacious, or elegant. And isn't it amazing that everybody's living in the same home? Isn't it amazing that everybody has a nice property? It's either a park-like setting or professionally landscaped. So if a person from Domino's Pizza delivered pizza at my home at the halftime of a Super Bowl game, and they saw my home, they may say, "You've got a beautiful home." But the person from the Super Bowl isn't expecting a $50 or $60 or $100,000 fee for their incredible narration and their incredible distinctive dialogue abilities. So most agents, I may not be right, but I'm convinced, actually spend more thinking about how they would write an ad about the home versus how they extemporaneously describe their home back to the homeowner during a marketing presentation. So what I did, it's in marketing research, I think, of the Learning Center, but if not, we can find out if somebody emails you. I created Dalton's distinctive dialogue.
Oh, it's in there.
Yeah, because I did research on all of the better ways, because I remember saying years ago, to praise moderately is a sign of mediocrity. So we have a lot of people that are mediocre in real estate in terms of narrating homes face-to-face with homeowners. And so they've got to take this subject more seriously, and that's why we've created Dalton's distinctive dialogue as part of Bob Watson's Forever Agent coaching platform.
Hey, do you remember the day we met? We're in Louisville. You standing room only. You had everyone waiting in line to talk to you. I was one of them, but I knew it wasn't my opportunity because I was just lost in the sea of sameness. But then I got you in the Uber, and I said, "Look, I started repeating all your lines back to you."
Oh, yeah.
I said, "And here's what I would say." So I just said, "I got 20 seconds with this guy. I want to make sure he remembers me." And then that kicked off the relationship. I can't wait to build on those distinctive dialogues. That's a fun exercise to do with your team, your broker owner, your manager, to get creative with this stuff, to go out and say unique things that's going to add differentiation to you in the marketplace. All right, we're going to keep going. So this is a big one too. How do we go from handling objections to restatement?
Well, the industry's been obsessed with how to handle objections. When I first came into the business, and you'd see realtors go to conventions, they go up and down the exhibit aisles like with the trick-or-treating bags, the ritual going at every booth. There was either how to make a listing presentation, and there were booths, how to handle objections, how to overcome objections. Because it gave the sense as if our industry was in combat with the consumer. Everything was a battle. Even though we're the only industry that consumers approach us all the time, they only bring in one realtor 75% of the time, and many homes sell themselves. What is this unbelievable obsession with overcoming objections? So my point is this, okay? And because I'm a person that in research and development, I should be fired if all I do is support the status quo.
Well, the status quo is the loyalty gap.
Exactly. No, the status quo is also the way we communicate and the way we approach the business, right?
Right, sure.
And so my advice would be this, for what it's worth, is that instead of trying to spend the time, instead of using one's limited diagnostic ability to label people and put them in boxes or NLP, if you listen very carefully to get to the real individual, okay, and really understand them, then you don't overcome their objections, you restate their concerns. So in other words, that may be say, Andrew, let me see if I understand what you're saying. I think what you're saying is that you've been thinking of buying a home now for 2 or 3 years. You finally get to the point that you want to do even more for you and Susan, for your blessed family. But now when you're finally getting the time to buy a home, you're looking and you think this might be the wrong time because prices are dropping and interest rates are going up. Is that what you're saying? Now, see, what I've done is I've expressed back a highly individual concern versus a personality issue, okay? So now, because this is a social concern, right? And now you said, Alan, that's exactly what I'm saying. So now you have the confidence in me because I have expressed that I completely get what you're saying. I haven't started just jumping in. Well, this is the time. This is this. This is that. Because I could say what I'm going to say now, but it wouldn't be as effective if I first didn't restate. And I'll give you another example in a minute.
Tenderize.
Yeah, you've got to tenderize the homeowner. So I'm going to first restate it. And then I may say, you know something, Andrew? If you weren't concerned about the fact that homes values might be dropping and interest rates are going up, let's say that homes were going up and interest rates were still low. Then in your opinion, do you feel that you want to go ahead and buy this property, buy a home? Now, if you say yes, then I'll go. If they say no, I'm going to say, well, apparently you have some other reason. May I ask what that is? Well, you know, we also think that we're concerned about the economy here. We're concerned about global warming or whatever it might be. Now I'm on to another issue. But let's say you said, yes, I would definitely buy if I didn't think the homes were going down and interest rates were going up. Then I may say this. You know, the fact that the homes are going down in value, that may be the very reason why you should buy right now, because everybody has that sense. That will give you greater negotiating power. And also, why don't we see if we can buy this home that you love today at next year's price? Because let me ask you this. The home used to be on the market for $500,000. And over the past 4 months, it's dropped to $450,000. Worst case scenario, where do you think it could drop to by next year? Alan, I think it could drop to $400,000. Andrew, why don't we see if we can buy it today at next year's price? You might be able to buy this home today for less than you buy it a year from now, even if the price has dropped 20% based on the circumstances of the homeowner. See, but none of that makes sense until I first restate. Because if I don't restate it, it looks like I'm trying to overcome an objection. If I restate it, I'm not overcoming an objection. I'm basically manifesting that I'm completely with you. I'm looking at this precisely from your prism, and now this is my reaction to it. And then another one, it would be like this. For years, homeowners would say this. They'd want to have an open listing. Hey, Alan, look at what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically I'm going to send out information to all of the agents that I'll pay them 3% or 2%, fees are negotiable. I'm going to pay them 3% if they bring a buyer. Okay, and so I don't need anybody on the listing side. I'm just going to offer. I'm going to put signs and this and that. Okay, and then I would say this. Well, let me understand what you're saying, Andrew. What you're basically saying is this: that you're actually willing to pay the selling side agent and brokerage the same amount of money as if you were Coldwell Banker, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Remax. Is that what you're saying? That you're actually willing to pay? They say, that's exactly right. Now, why did I do that? Because now they've got comfort. Because they're frustrated that I don't respect their strategy. I don't get it. But now, but let me tell you why categorically that's been so unsuccessful over the years. Then I get into all the reasons why that doesn't work statistically, logically. But if I didn't first restate it, and instead I tried to overcome the objection, well, you know what's going to happen. Agents aren't going to bring a buyer. They're not going to do this. They don't do that. They're accustomed to networking. They're accustomed to getting their data on the MLS. This is out of their comfort zone. It's other. If I went to all of those overcoming the objection, it's not as successful. That's why restating, showing that you understand more even than you're empathetic, that you understand. How else would they know if you understand? Because here's what some realtors say as a part of a script. Oh, I can appreciate that. Oh, I understand. I can appreciate that without ever demonstrating that you truly understand and respect. That can only take place with restatement.
Yeah, it's an important concept. It's something that people who are serious about their sales career should probably role play and practice restating things, because of course you still have to overcome objections, but the power of restating before you dive into it is tenderizing. And it goes back to Stephen Covey's thing. You seek first to understand, then be understood. This is like a universal principle.
Exactly.
I need to show that I understand your point of view, and then, and only then, do I have the opportunity for my side of the story to be understood as well.
And you do that regardless of what you think their personality type might be.
Exactly. Even if they lean in, though?
Even if they're tactile. Okay. Which I wouldn't know how.
Well, how do you feel about that?
Yeah,
so, okay,
no,
I got
exactly,
you.
Right.
We hit that one. So that's restatement. This is another one because we kind of created the listing word in comps. We need to go from CMAs to MMAs. Now, I've heard you sound off on comps before. Is comps even a word? CMA, we're saying comparable market analysis. What's MMA?
Well, an MMA starts with, I created an MMA at my company, a master market analysis, many years ago, for this reason. Even though I wasn't familiar with the wisdom of the dean of the Harvard Business School back then, but I did it intuitively, because I guess from being in basketball and drafted by the NBA, I'm very competitive.
Yes.
So I not only want to be distinctive, I want to beat the other team because I want to win. And I saw that every single real estate agent in the country was all saying the same thing. All of their brokers providing them with the same thing, something called the CMA.
Right.
We still even use that term today, I think.
Oh, that you can't get away from it.
A CMA. So, but the dean of the Harvard Business School said everybody should ask themselves 2 questions. What do I do that my competition also does, but that I do better? And number 2, what do I do that none of my competitors do? So I created an MMA, but it can't just be different initials. Allan, so in other words, somebody from another company, they're going to go with another company. I said, well, by the way, did they do a CMA for you? Oh, yes, they did a CMA. Well, Andrew, with all due respect, a CMA is not enough in today's market. We do MMAs. Well, what's the difference? Well, a CMA will give you an estimate of fair market value. An MMA, a master market analysis, will both do that and also show you how it can enhance the value of your home, bringing in staging, stuff like that. So as simple as that was, everybody else, so we advertise it all the time. Other companies only do a CMA. We do an MMA. See, everybody says they're different, but everybody sounds the same. That's the problem.
That's brilliant. You know what I like to say is when I'm meeting with a home sellers, I say, hey, I don't come in here and pretend to know exactly what your home's worth before I even got here. So I don't come in here with a CMA. You've probably had other agents come in here and tried to mark up a piece of paper and give you a price. Pricing a property is a strategic exercise, which is why when we're done here, I'm going to prepare a master marketing analysis after I've seen the home. So that's just one of the ways I've used some of your distinctive values.
And the other thing, Andrew, is that, and by the way, just so in other words, but we still have agents who use the word comps. Telling a homeowner, what percentage of agents do you think still actually use the word comps?
99%.
Okay. Saying to a homeowner, let's take a look at the comps is like saying, let's take a look at some similar children. There's no difference. In fact, I've met homeowners that were more prideful of their homes than even their kids. They spent more time in their garden than going to their kids' soccer games. So why would I ever want to go in and commoditize what they love the most? So what do you say instead? Folks, let's take a look at properties which buyers will be evaluating at the same time they're evaluating your home. We don't have to insult people. We can be smarter than that in terms of that. And so, in fact, you want to caution people. Now, by the way, as we look at some of the properties that your homes that people are going to be evaluating, and we're judging buyer behavior in today's market, please keep in mind, no homes are the same. No homes are alike. No homes are similar. That's why when an agent is working with a buyer and the buyer says, we don't like this home, do you think any agent in history has ever said, well, let's go take a look at some similar homes? No, because we're being phonies in that, okay?
You know, one of the things I love that you said is, I don't think many agents in this industry have made a long career out of selling things to people that they didn't already want.
Without a doubt.
It's kind of off topic, but you made me think of it.